Hey everybody, and welcome back to Lindsey's Little Library. So I'm here today because we have another Booklist Thursday. Booklist Thursday is something I do with Sarah over at Sarah's Nightstand. We come to you every Thursday with some sort of thoughts, ideas, recommendations, something bookish related. So today's theme centers around a house with secrets. I love a good atmospheric read, and if you give me something that's almost, it's like, especially a house that is almost its own character within a book, I am here for it. So I have a few books I've read recently, a few books I've read like a while ago, one I've read quite a while ago, and they're all highly recommended. So some mystery, some thrillers, some historical fiction. I've got the whole gamut of houses with secrets. So the first one I want to talk about is The September House. This is by Carissa Orlando. Yeah, did I read this the end of last year or the beginning of this year? It's a fairly newer book that came out, and we follow Margaret and her husband. They have what seems to be the perfect relationship, very loving relationship. They have a daughter who's now grown and out of the house, and they've always had this dream of like buying an old Victorian house and fixing it up and bringing it back to its glory. So they find said house and they very quickly jump on it and put in an offer, and they're good to go. They did it a little too quickly though. So they didn't really look into the house a little bit more. And the house comes with a number of secrets. Every September, the walls bleed. The paranormal activity picks up like big time. And it doesn't go well. But they are determined. Margaret is determined to hang on to this house. This is her dream. They have stuck everything into this house. They're staying. I love the uniqueness that Carissa gives us with showing us this relationship that Margaret has with the other beings that are in the house. It's kind of interesting. Like, you would think if you're living in a house full of ghosts, Margaret acts like it's no big deal. No big deal. The only time it gets a little more scary is in September and leading up to September, and then everything that centers around the thing in the basement. We're just going to leave it there. It was fantastic. I loved it. Another book that I read a while ago that has a house of secrets is Stillhouse Lake by Rachel Caine. This is the beginning of a series. I've only read the first one, and I'm fine only reading the first one. Some people have read on, and I think it loses something further on in the series, but I can't speak from experience. So this one follows Gina. She's married. She has 2 kids. Very quiet Midwest life. Again, appears to be quite normal, you know. Super happy marriage, really great kids that are growing up, kind of living the dream, I guess. Until one day, she's involved in a car accident at her own house, and it reveals some pretty deep, dark secrets. So then Gina and her 2 kids find herself, we fast forward a few years, find them on a bit of the run, a bit of the trying to hide, I guess. And we'll go from there. But that was a fantastic read. Really enjoyed it. So then a couple of books off of my shelf. Those 2 were, I read on my Kindle. So next one I want to talk about is The Light in Hidden Places by Sharon Cameron. This is YA, yet it didn't scream YA to me, if that makes sense at all. So historical fiction set in 1943. We have 16-year-old Stefania. She's working for a family in the grocery store in Poland. She's promised to a young man. They're kind of betrothed to be married. But everything changes when the German army basically invades Poland. The Diamond family is forced to the ghetto. Stefania is not. She had just worked for them. She finds herself alone in the city. She had moved there for this job. Now she's by herself. And there's a knock on the door. And it is a member of this family that she had worked for, asking for help. Family's on a train headed to a concentration camp, and basically asked her to hide him and hide them. So there's the house with secrets theme is in this book for sure. I sped through this. I loved this young woman at 16 years old is determined to do her part to help whomever she can help during this very very tragic time. Can't think of the word. Tumultuous? I don't know. You know what I mean. She steps up and she does it. So really follows her in her process and her family and the struggle she has, because she does end up having to take care of her sister doing this. And so it's not just always about her, it's about helping her sister and keeping her safe as well. So loved it. Absolutely loved it. Highly recommend that book. Another book about a house with secrets is Lisa Jewell's The Family Upstairs. This one, I believe, goes back and forth. Yeah, a little bit with time. Yes. A little set in the past, set in the present. So we have Libby on her 25th birthday, returns home from work to find a letter. She's kind of been waiting for it her entire life. So she rips it open and she thinks she's finally going to figure out who she is. At this stage, she not only knows the identity of her parents, but she's the sole inheritor of this abandoned house in London. The home is really worn down. It needs some tender loving care because it hasn't been touched in like 25 years. Basically what happened 25 years ago, the police were called to this house with reports of a baby crying. When they arrive, they find a healthy 10-month-old safe and sound in the upstairs bedroom. And in the kitchen, they find 3 dead bodies, all dressed in black, all seemingly posed, and a very hastily scrawled note next to them. And the other 4 children who were living in this house at the time are gone. Let's talk about a house full of secrets. This one was crazy. This one threw me for a loop, and I loved every moment of it. And I believe there's a follow-up book too, which called, what's the next book called? I can't think of it. I'll link it. The last one I want to talk about is Home Before Dark. This is by Riley Sager, who is like the king of houses with secrets. A number of his books tend to have a house with a secret in it, but this one is by far my favorite. This one follows Maggie. She doesn't believe in the details of what made her family famous. So basically, her father and mother wrote this book about fleeing what they called Banbury Hall. Again, another Victorian estate set in the woods all by itself. They spent 20 days there and then ran away in the dead of night. And then her father wrote this memoir, House of Horrors, where he told about the details of what happened in this house. She does not recall these things happening. She doubts what's happening and finds herself drawn back to Banbury Hall because she thought it was in the past. She's moved on. She gets this letter, basically she's inherited it. So she's like, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna fix it up, I'm gonna flip it, and I'm gonna walk away. But she gets there and she starts to discover some of the secrets the house is holding. There's a scene in here that will forever be living rent-free in my head. It involves snakes, and I don't like snakes. But the way that Riley Sager can write a scene and describe a house in such detail, I can picture this house clear as day. The layout of it, how it looked, what it felt like, all of it. He's like the master at bringing to life this inanimate object. So highly recommend this one as well. It's nice and creepy if you're into that. So those are my houses with secrets. Head over to Sarah's channel and see what she has for us today. I'm sure she's got some good ones. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I will see you next time.